have got a pocket full of all sorts of good material, charts and stuff, but this is the first artifact I run across, which is kind of surprising. Right there's my old friend, the snap based, or the snapped, because they're all broke, it seems like. Garden Creek style. They're just so thin, they just don't make it too often, but I like finding them. Always wondered how long one of them suckers would have been when it was first made. You know, it's hard to say whether that would have tapered off somewhere in there or would it gone on out. It'd been a wicked little point or blade. I suspect atlatl point. All right, maybe there'll be something else. I want you to look at this point, and I picked it up before I completely figured out what I had there. So right there's the tip. And right there is a fully intact ear. And that right there is busted. My gosh, that would have been a pretty little point. Look how translucent. And a good old one too. It was almost all there. There's another little crude point. You'll listen to how quiet it is. Best part of the hobby. Second best is finding stuff, and broke once again. I've been finding a few of these here lately. Unfortunately, most all of them are broke. They're older. I don't know what to call them. It may be it could be a Moro Mountain type, but usually they're not nearly as thin. These are really well made. Maybe possibly a Palmer, depending on how much is broke off that back. That's a stretch, but it's a finely made, nice wide and thin and good quality material. Maybe there's a whole one somewhere. Here's a little in situ for you. Another piece of that crystal. Guess I should have filmed it before I poked it, because I knew it was chert, but I really thought it was a tiny flake. But it's a nice, big, broken tip. You really don't find them a whole lot. Most of the time they would take something like that and rework that down into a smaller point. That was the tip of a really nice chert blade. Look at the flaking on that. All right, we got one that's a 90%er. Kind of in the Garden Creek variety. about 2 minutes ago, I said, man, I just got a good feeling. That happens from time to time, and I always think I should just record just in case, but boy. All right. An odd rock. It's odd for a couple reasons. It's what caught my eye. Let me back it out. Material's a bit odd. I picked it up and I thought, I don't know. And then I saw this. It's drilled. Oh my word. Why would they drill that rock? Look at that. I'm gonna have to wash all the dirt off. It definitely is not anything finished, but it's not a native material either. You can kind of see a flare coming out on this side and on this side. And you've got a big piece knocked off here. But that's drilled. Oh my word. We'll clean it up and take another look at it. Wow. All right, guys, I washed it off and I found what I was hoping for. Look at that. Banded material. And it is definitely non-native material. I think it's pretty safe to say this is one that was made in, or was in the process of being made. Once you look at the banding on the inside there. Well, the garden has changed a little bit since I last been here. Got a little rain, and we just pulled that up. Tip of a blade, but I want you to look how thin that piece is. And it's not broken, because it's got working on both sides. There we go. Look at that little micro flaking on the edges there. Oh my word. That looks like a drill, maybe. Would that be my first drill? Oh gosh, it's so hard to say. Very, very narrow to be one of those Garden Creek styles, and a little bit thick. I ain't never gonna know for sure, but man, does that sure feel like a drill. Oh, I wish there's just a little bit left of that right there. Well, we got a mostly. Well, I can't even say mostly. Good portion of it's there. Kind of odd looking, but I don't know. Maybe a Moro Mountain type A? What do you think? Just missing the point. So I just found this large chunk of material that kind of looks like rhyolite or something. I have found some artifacts made out of it. But I did something I don't ever hardly do. Found me a nice big quartz hammerstone, and I wanted to drive a flake off of this because I'm kind of curious what it looked like fresh. Check that out. It's got some red to it. It's really pretty stuff. I don't know if you can really see the red. Maybe you can. I don't know. I might drive a flake or two off of it somewhere else. Maybe we can see a little bit better. Little experimental archaeology here. All right, there you go. I did a little bit of bifacing. Just real quick stuff, but you can see it drives a nice flake. It's got a really pretty color to it, which I'm sure wasn't the end all for them, but hey, it's nice to make something pretty. But thought I'd show you this. I stood right here in my flip-flops and did that, but I want you to look on the ground now, right below me. And you see what I did there? See all the flakes? The debitage. That's a lot of what I pick up. In fact, I don't know, what is there, 15, 20 flakes? And today, just in the few minutes I've been here, most of that is debitage. You can see why this stuff is everywhere. That's just a few chunks off of that little rock right there. But it literally just covered the ground wherever they camped. It's everywhere. And it's still here. And still popping up. And especially when it's non-native material. I like to pick it up. There's another piece right there. Anyway, that's how all those little flakes get scattered everywhere. So here are a few of the artifacts that I have found over the years that are drilled stone artifacts. And it's not all of them, but some have gone back to landowners, and one in particular, I don't think I will ever know exactly what was being done. It remains a complete mystery to me. But they all have a little bit of mystery to them because we truly don't know exactly what they were doing. We're left to speculate. This, I believe, was a cooking stone. And I think this hole was drilled in it so this stone could be placed in a fire, heated up, then a stick would be inserted in this hole so it could be pulled out of a fire and placed in something like a stone vessel to heat up liquid. Say you're cooking a soup, or maybe you wanted to steam something. I think maybe that's what that rock was used for. The hole is really the only working done on it. And these are pieces of gorgets that you have seen in other videos. And we know that some sort of personal embellishment. It was worn in some way. Some people say strapped to the forearm as like a bowstring protector. Some say just worn around the neck. Some have two holes. Some have one hole. And then this is what is called a banner stone. And we think it had something to do with the use of an atlatl, based on some archaeological finds, and these being in relation to other pieces of an atlatl. But we have to speculate. What is cool about this piece, though, and we're going to shine a little light on the subject here. This piece was broken in the process of being made. It never was completed. It was being formed and it broke. But there is indication on this stone, and when we shine light on it, you can begin to see, zoom in here, this area right in here. you can see pecking. One way that they began to rough form these pieces into shape was by pecking with a harder stone over and over and over again, removing material a little bit at a time until they got it into a rough form, and then they would grind. And so there's pecking along this edge, lower edge right here, this edge on the right. Now what's cool is that we have grinding right here along the spine. You can see the absence of the peck marks. There's a few in here, quite a few in here, and even down in this area, you can still see some of the pecking marks. You can see that this was going to be narrow on this end and then swell and thicken where the hole was drilled. So it's been very interesting to see the completed form of this thing, but unfortunately I think it broke while being rough formed. And I kind of get, you know, drilling the stone before you finish. Think about all the work that it would take to finish polishing this thing, perfect shape, and then you decide to drill the hole only to have it break. I get the idea of drilling. If it survives the drilling process without breaking, well, then you spend the time finish shaping it. So I think they just kind of roughly got this one into shape and then went ahead with the hole, and then it broke. Some of these gorgets have got a lot of detail on them. This one is one of my favorites. You see the etching? Let's see here. There's etching right there below the hole. And on this side, what's called cross-hatching. I actually think these two materials are pretty similar, probably came from the same area. And this one doesn't have any sort of etching. It's flat on one side, rounded on the other, and it is, look at that thing sparkle. I think that was maybe part of the reason why that stone was chosen. And this one I can't say was ever drilled, but it is. It was finished. Smooth polish on both sides. But telltale for this one is on the very end. Right there. You see those little notches that were put in the edge. And I don't know what shape this one would have been. This one may have been more circular in shape. I don't know. I love drilled stone artifacts. They cross that line between artistry and utility, and they separate themselves from other artifacts, and they're just rarer and harder to find. But we are left to wonder many, many times about what exactly was being done with them.